let's do Tony Robbins meets Rachel Hollis for the second time. And apparently he says something, if you're a teacher, apparently Tony Robbins thinks that you don't deserve much income, I guess, is what I saw on Reddit. I have not listened to a second of this one, so we'll see how it goes. We get to see his manly face. We get to hear his manly voice and also see his manly face. Okay, Tony R. So Rachel interviewed him back in, I don't know, a year ago maybe, and when he was promoting this book. So now why she's interviewing him again, I don't know, but the last time they were in person together and she had her feet were up on the couch with her crisscross applesauce, and she was just so cozy and right, yes, when he was spewing literal pseudoscience bullshit, nonsense, anti-vax sentiment at her for like an hour and a half. So, it's probably more of the same. Here we go. Tony Robbins, Daddy Robbins, here we go.
Decisions we make every moment. And if you make these decisions differently, your life different. The first one is, what are you going to focus on? As I tell people, you're not experiencing your life right now.
Come up.
You're experiencing the life you're focusing on.
Shut up.
See, if you focus on some aspects of your life, you're going to be pissed off or worried. But to be pissed off and worried, you have to delete all the things you could be grateful for. If you're really having a great life right now, you're deleting all the things you could be pissed off about. So it's whatever you focus on, that determines the control of your life.
So do you want to just...
Wise words, Tony. Just focus on the things you want to focus on. Cool.
Jump right in? I know you're
Whenever you're ready.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. I was thinking this morning of how much we as a society have gone through in the last 2 years into our third year, and how much that shapes us and changes us and affects us in all the ways. And I was curious, what are some of the ebbs and flows you've seen in your community because of everything that's happened with pandemic and the economy? Like, what are the trends that you're seeing right now?
Well, there's a lot of people that, it's kind of like people that, I don't know if you had a great grandparent or a grandparent that went through the Depression, but such a significant emotional event, being locked up for such a period of time, having people's businesses shut down, the idea that people are afraid that if they're around somebody, they could breathe something and then die. Just the exaggeration of the situation that we've all come to know now wasn't really accurate.
COVID denier. Siren, here we go. Yeah, the biggest thing I took away from the pandemic was definitely people's businesses getting shut down. Do you know how much fucking money, like billions of dollars, went into PPE? Rachel Hollis being one of the recipients of that, of over $1 million from the government to keep their businesses open. And guess how many people work for Rachel Hollis now? Like 2. So I think the millions of deaths, or 1 million plus deaths from COVID, would be more relevant to me, and not that it was exaggerated. So just shut the frick up already, Tony Robbins. But we already knew he was a COVID denier. This is just another thing that I'm sure Rachel will not push back on whatsoever.
And die. Just the exaggeration of the situation that we've all come to know now wasn't really accurate. I think that's left a permanent mark on a percentage of the population. There's no question. It's not usually people that come to me, because people that come to me are usually hungry. They either are doing extremely well and they're hungry because that's why they do well. They're always looking for that edge, or there's somebody going through a really tough challenge, but they're not willing to give up. And so that tends to be who I personally interact with. But I think that, then stacking onto it, inflation, I'm old enough to remember, when I was just starting my business, it was 18% interest rates. That's what it cost to buy a house or to get a loan. And, today people are freaking out about 7%, but I lived through stagflation. So a lot of people, they don't know what that means. They don't know that means your assets are going down and your costs are going up. And it's a little scary for people, and it's going to get worse.
Back in my day, I had to walk to school on snowshoes over Mount Everest every day. And also, it cost me 18% to open a loan. Also, back when he was getting into business, I don't know what year, like women could not even open credit cards near the time when he was entering the business. So shut the fuck up. Sorry.
There's no question in the near future. It's not going to last forever. Winter's never forever. It's always followed by a springtime. But when you're in the middle of it, when things are going well, people think it's going to go well forever. When things are going bad, they think it's going to go bad forever. So it's going to be longer than we want. But it's like winter is the time in which you can grow the most. It's you either freeze to death or you learn to ski and snowboard and you build a business and have time with your family and you grow. Because if you do well and
Oh, no wonder she wants to ski now. Tony Robbins said skiing is the key to success. Now Rachel's throwing herself down the Swiss Alps to prove to him that she can do it too.
winter, when spring comes, you pretty much dominate for the rest of your life. This is like the testing season. And it's going to be longer than we want it to be.
Rachel, absolutely. Shut up. Oh my God, I hate her so much. I'm sorry.
I can promise you that. It's not transitory, as all the bullshit that was told to us by people in government. They're all just selling. But we have some real challenges.
Wait, I'm sorry. I got to go back. What is he saying about the government? She looks like she's, watching a puppy be born. Like, oh, this is so beautiful. Yeah. Tony is like 60 something years old. He actually did this super cringe birthday party where it's like these, again, like I don't mean to be mean, but like D-list celebrity people came up and like praised him on a stage for like 2 hours straight and just sucked his dick essentially. I'm sorry. I get cruder after hour 2. And it's so embarrassing. So if you ever want a good time, you can go watch Tony Robbins' birthday celebration online.
I can promise you that. It's not transitory, as all the bullshit that was told to us by people in government. They're all just selling. But we have some real challenges to face.
I don't know what he means.
But what you can do is train yourself to be more unshakable. It's like we all know people who all hell's breaking loose, and it's not like they're fearless, but there's some part of them that stays centered in the middle of the storm, and they figure out how to take advantage of it as opposed to reacting to it. Some people, COVID destroyed their life. Some people, it started to destroy their life, and then they figured a way to adapt. And they made some.
Yeah, the rich people continued to get rich or got richer, and the poor people continued to be poor. Oh, it's all a mindset because they went to my conference.
Aspect of their life better than it was before. And I think that's really our job. Our job is to see it as it is, but not worse than it is. Right? Because if you make it worse than it is, you do that because you're afraid of failing, you're afraid of being disappointed. That's most people. But then you don't have a life. Like without a vision, people perish, right? It says in a good book, called The Good Book. So it's like you got to see it as is, not worse than it is. Then you got to see it better than it is, or there's no reason to go for it. And you got to get a vision beyond where you are. And then you got to make it that way by having the right kinds of strategies. So that's why, when 2020 happened and people were locked up, and, I'm used to doing stadium events of 15, 20,000 people. And so I was like, we'll move to Vegas. And they shut down Vegas.
Why are we editing? Why are we editing these fucking podcasts? That was another hard cut edit. Don't put that in there. Must have said something worse than he's already said. I'm going to go back. That was not me.
Stadium events of 15, 20,000 people. And so I was like, we'll move to Vegas. And they shut down Vegas.
Sketchy, trying to make him not look as bad as he really was on this call. I see you. Oh my God, I almost forgot his name. Jack.
We're going to do this in movie theaters. They shut down movie theaters. But then I built this studio, and then I decided, I want to help people. I don't want money to be in the way. I don't want time to be in the way. I don't want travel to be in the way. So for 3 straight years now, I've done this 5-day challenge. This year we call it Become Unshakable. And it's no charge whatsoever. It's not partial fee. It's totally free. And I show people what to do for your finances going forward. What are you going to do for your career? What are you going to do to make your relationship better? What are you going to do?
Tony discovered the internet in 2020.
So you have the energy to make your life great. And we take about 2 hours each day. I usually go 2.5 or 3 because I want to add value and no charge. And we just go deep for 5 straight days in a row. And people get a new momentum, and then they walk into 2023 not with dread or not with just hoping. Hope is no strategy. They've got a plan.
Oh my God, that was her line. That was her phrase. Hope is not a strategy. Oh, did he come up with that and she stole it? Ooh, interesting. Or did he steal it from her? Let me know.
And so we're going to do that again this year. Last year we had 1 million people participate. So I think we'll have a very similar group today. And it's people from all over the world. And anybody who wants to go can go to becomeunshakable.com and get yourself registered because it's January 24th through the 28th that we'll be doing this. But I want you to know it's designed to make you so that you can deal with what's here. Because if you don't have a plan, it's going to be a scary time for a lot of people. It won't be if you have a great plan.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned, knowing old.
That's how Tony claps, by the way. Oh, looky here. She's got a fucking manicure. Oh, I thought we were never doing our nails again, hippie Rachel.
Am I the only hippie?
She made a whole thing about this on Rach Talk, that she doesn't do her nails anymore because she's an evolved human and she doesn't need to do her nails anymore because all she cares about is her own self-realization, actualization. Oh, you got caught. Your Frenchies are caught in the act.
Older relatives, or maybe experiencing someone who had lived through the Great Depression, because I think
she's like, all the toxic chemicals that go into nail polish, I can't do it to my precious body. 1 year later. Hey guys.
in a time like this, when it would be really easy to be super overwhelmed because you're probably burnt out from everything that's been happening the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Knowing that my audience, so many of them.
She's got the high voice on today, by the way. She's got her ad read voice where it's a little bit higher than normal just so she can sound more feminine, I think. I don't know, just my thoughts. She usually sounds, when she's doing her own podcast, like much more like, come on, you guys. I took a shot with an old lady and everyone laughed. Like, that's her normal voice. And now she's a little bit higher, just a little bit more, courteous to the guest.
Our parents. I'm thinking about, if you experienced a parent who lived through something like the Great Depression, there's no way that didn't bleed over onto you. There's no way that fear didn't hit you. There's no way that you maybe escaped that scarcity mindset. Like, even if we don't know how or what we're going to do next, just the fact that there are people who are counting on us is such a huge piece of being able to try and figure out a path. So,
Rachel, you're so spot on. You need reasons beyond yourself.
Right.
Because if you just try to take care of yourself, there's not that much. I have 5 kids and 5 grandkids. You have 4 kids, right?
4 kids, yeah.
Yeah, 4 kids.
A lot of kids.
You can't,
Can they ever say they have 4 children without putting that secondary thing on it? That's 1,000 kids. It's so many kids. Who decided to have these children? You, bitch.
You can't give up, right? You couldn't give up. And that's really interesting because, if you think about it, every generation experiences.
Burden yourself with more responsibilities to therefore have to provide for them. Good advice.
It's winter. It's a long period of time where they're going to have beautiful days in winter, can be sunny and gorgeous, but the overall theme is more fear and uncertainty. And so, some people experience that in their 0 to 20 stage of life. Some people, it's the 20 to 40 stage, some the 40 to 60, some 60 to 80. So if you look at the greatest generation in history, it's the generation that was born around 1910. Now, that group was not respected. They grew up and they're known as
your generation, Tony, would disagree with that. I think the boomers think that they're the best.
Flappers. They were spoiled rotten because they grew up, we won World War I, and we were the champions in the world. They saw all this technology, radio, television, cars, and and everybody was partying, and it was this really high, optimistic time. It's called fall, when everybody's reaping. But fall is followed by winter. So right when these kids were turning 1929, 19 years old, if they're born in 1910, the entire world dropped out. Instead of a car,
they would be 29 years old. No, you're right, 19. Sorry, changed my mind. I can't do math.
Instead of this great life, everything was devastation. People jumping out of buildings, people standing in bread lines. If they're in the Midwest, it was the Dust Bowl. And they made through 10 years of the Depression, only to turn 29 and think, oh, now life's going to be easy. And World War II breaks out. It looks
You're
like
not going to miss the draft.
Right? And they get drafted. But what's
You're going to miss the draft. I'm sorry. I don't get the joke. I don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm too young and modern to understand what you guys are talking about.
Unfollow me.
Oh, Lord. Okay, continue your fucking history lesson about 1910, please.
crazy is that generation that was considered so weak because the environment demanded it got strong, and they became the hero generation. And when they came home after the war, we had this great optimistic period from 1945 till about the time Kennedy was killed in 1963. And it was an optimistic time. Then you go through the hot summer. This happens every 80 years where young and old fight about values. That was the 60s and 70s. Then you go through the pragmatic time of people financially reaping. That was the 90s and 2000s. Now we're in winter. We're back in winter.
Oh, yeah, the 2000s. Yeah, 2008 was a great time of reaping. Reaping what we sowed, yeah. I don't think now it's the winter. You don't think the financial crisis of 2008 was worth a mention here? Does it fit your theory? Doesn't fit the time frame for your 5-day fucking boot camp. Okay, cool. Why is it always 5 days? There's gotta be some scammer grifterific reason for 5 days versus 4 or 6. I want to know. Tell me.
It'll be longer than you want. You got to get strong during winter, because then springtime, the rest of your life will be easy if you do it. If you look at the top 1,000 companies, Fortune 1,000 companies, they could be born in any one of these 4 financial seasons. But of the top 1,000, more than 60% of them were born in a winter, in a recession or a depression. That's Exxon, Disney.
It's such a wild statistic. I mean, this is the
She cut herself there, edited whatever dumb shit she had to say there. Okay, another little edit.
the magic of hearing someone speak, like encouragement and hope and ideas and inspiration, as opposed to filling our minds with what's in a feed of the world's ending, we all hate each other, it's all bad, we're all screwed.
Yeah, I'd much rather listen to someone selling me on a product 24 hours a day. Instead of listening to truth, I'd rather listen to sales pitch and copy. That's going to make my life fucking better, you dumb ass. I'm sorry. I don't mean her as a person. I mean her, what she says, what she stands for.
Is that reminder that there are so many businesses, massive companies who were born not just in...
Guess whose company failed, completely got decimated in 2020 for her own personal pandemic, an internal pandemic, an implosion, so to speak, of her own brand and life. Yours, Rachel. So you're the exact opposite of what this whole lesson is supposed to be. You actually had the greatest fall ever. You were making millions of dollars, and then you jumped out of a building because it was 1929 for no reason other than your own greed and, I don't know, her like self-aggrandizing behavior. Great that she's the one leading this conversation.
You know, however long ago, but like if you look at 2008 and how many businesses were born in that crisis that are now thriving today, I think for me as an entrepreneur of 20 plus years, that is the thing that like has helped me time and time again, is like, okay, well, someone else figured this out. Someone else got through that.
Yeah, his name is Dave Hollis, and he figured it out to get a corporate job in Disney World to provide your income, to give you security. And now you're divorced from him, so I'm sure you're okay for the rest of your life. Okay, yeah, he figured it out for you.
So if someone else can get through this, there's an equation, or there's a recipe, there's ideas. So what are some of those components and those recipe pieces that if someone is trying to keep their mindset strong, to stay focused, to keep their eyes above the waves, what are some of the things that they can do in a time like this?
Well, the first thing is you got to participate in your own rescue. You can't hope the government's going to do it. It's not going to work that way. They can't.
Why do you hate the government so much, Tony Robbins? My God. Yeah, check his taxes. I don't think he's paying taxes. He seems to hate the government. Or maybe he had to pay taxes this year for the first time ever, and he's like bitter about it.
You are privileged AF.
And by you, I mean I am privileged AF. Thank you.
Keep printing more money. That's why we have the inflation we do. And it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. But what is inflation? The prices are increasing. It's uncomfortable. It's a little freak out for people. But overall, inflation, it varies on what you're buying, but it's about 7.5%. Anyone could become 10% more productive. Anyone could become 20 or 50% more productive. When I met Jim Rohn, my original teacher, I had 4 fathers. I feed 100 million people a year. We're about to hit, we just hit 950 million meals. We're going to hit 1 billion meals.
No one cares. No one cares. No one cares.
One of the reasons I do that is because I grew up.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
With absolutely nothing. And I had 4 different fathers. And I had a Thanksgiving.
Rachel, why don't you tell Tony how much money you took from the government and then have no staff to show for it? over $1 million. You should tell him that, babe.
We had no money and food and somebody fed us. So that's what kind of triggered me to be who I am to a great extent. It made me believe strangers care. But one of the things that came out of that was I went to Jim Rohn at one point and I said, all four of my dads were good people. We had money for food. I mean, it's like we were starved. We had crackers and peanut butter, right? But we didn't have, a Thanksgiving dinner. And I said, why is that?
I hate to say it, but I don't really buy his story. He's told the same exact story for so many years. I'm just not buying it. I think it's very similar to Rachel's story where it's like, I was poorer than poor. I was dirt on the floor. And in reality, they were living in California in a modern mid-century, house, and they owned, I don't know that's to be fact. I just have a feeling that they wouldn't, it's not putting it past them to come up with the most, epic rags to riches story possible by embellishing their life story and their origins, because none of these stories are real in its essence. Thank you, JB. JB says, the spicier Kia gets, the happier I am. I'm trying to find a level between me sleeping and angry cops somewhere in there, just to keep it within reason, because I don't want to be hateful for no good reason. I want to be fair, and I feel like if I let myself get too angry, then it'll just overflow. So gotta find the balance. But in my heart,
I do not give a fuck.
I am not problematic.
Rachel says as she interviews Tony Robbins as he dismantles the government from probably a hotel room in Miami. All right, back to it. Thank you.
And I said, because they're smart men, they're good men. And he said, Tony, here's what you need to understand.
Tony.
We're all equal as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. He said, you have to become more skilled to be more valuable in the marketplace. You have to see, what does the market need? He said, think of it this way. If you go to work for McDonald's and you make, in those days, it was $4 an hour. Now it's $7 or $8 an hour. That is not designed to be your long-term job. It's an entry job. And because anybody can do it. Anybody can learn to do a McDonald's job, especially now they use pictures, in an hour. Robots.
Okay, I'm going to let it ride. Go on.
Are going to replace those people very soon. It won't be very long. It's already happening in some places, right? Automation. So if that's that simple, that's why you get paid so little. Because I was saying, well, what about a teacher who makes only $40,000 a year, and then you see this hedge fund guy make $2 billion? He goes, Tony, the hedge fund guy you're talking about gave people a 40% return when the average person's getting 4%. 10.
Suck my dick, you piece of shit. Oh, yeah, okay, this is how I feel. This is a good, accurate depiction. Those are definitely dentures, right? 100% dentures. Not there's anything wrong with that, but I'm just saying, I think he's got dentures. Okay, so let's just all become hedge fund managers because that's how society works. It's like, this is how these people's brains do think. They do operate. The Rachel Hollises, the Tony Robbins of the world. Now, whether they really believe this or they just spew this crap because the people who are attracted to it are delusional as fuck, they really think that the world would function if no one worked at McDonald's, no one collected the garbage, no one taught at schools, no one did all these jobs that are integral to the society that we live in that he hates so much, apparently, because the government is controlling his, estates or whatever. None of this would work, and we all have to work together. And he is already blessed beyond belief to be able to be a millionaire, multi-millionaire, to have the lifestyle that he does, and to, for a second, try to justify that a hedge fund manager brings more value and is more, and that's the reason why teachers should shut the fuck up about low pay, is abhorrent. And I don't know how Rachel Hollis, who stood up on a stage when I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, watching her saying, not everyone has to be Elton John. What about the teachers? That's what we really need to be appreciative of. The teachers of America are so wonderful, and I just want to give them a shout out because you guys do the real work. I bet you $1 million fucking dollars. I bet you the salary of a hedge fund manager that she does not say a goddamn word after he's making this incredibly offensive statement. I will take it all back if she does. But this is why I hate these types of people. Because it's like you live in a bubble, You're sucking each other's dicks. Oh, this hedge fund, this guy, this medical guy, I'm going to give you a shout out. You give me a shout out. You send me $1 million. Come to my island in Fiji. It's not the real world. They get so disconnected. She's in Hawaii right now giving this interview. It's like, shut the fuck up. Leave us alone. People who are interested in these people, get a grip. Stop doing this. And let's all move on. Let's move on from this dark period in history, from 1910 when all these scammers started to now. I'm ready to move forward. Okay, I'm done.
10 times value. They make money for their family or their business 10 times faster. He's worth $2 billion. The teacher might be doing a great thing, but they're not judged on results. They're judged on tenure, and they got a small number of people. If you want to help 1 billion people, in a simple way, it's easy to become a billionaire. If you want to help 25 people, it's different. He goes, so.
Yeah, that's what I just want to help 25 people. That was my choice when I filled out my career day form. I was like, they said, want to help 25 people in your life or 1 billion people? Do you want to make $1 billion or $10? Just check mark which one. And that's how we have the world today. This guy's a fucking idiot.
Think of it this way. Your job is to figure out how to do more for others than anybody else in your category. If you can find a way to add more value, not the value you want to give, the value they want to receive. He said, you'll eventually build a brand and people will seek you out. They will not be you seeking them out. And you will be prosperous, but only if you keep growing. Like, you can't fall in love with your product or service today. That's the mistake a lot of small business people make. They make the product they love and it has a limited life. Today, people have desires change quickly. Today, you got to fall in love with your client and figure out what do they need, want, desire that they don't even know they need, want, or desire, and build that, and not just what you're doing currently. And that's what will allow you to succeed through time. So all of my businesses, I'm obsessed with how do we do more for others than anybody else in the industry.
Okay, Tony Robbins, I could give a fuck what you got to say. Rob Sheehan, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Rob says, I wouldn't want Tony Robbins to take my order at Mickey D's. Yeah, me neither. Quarter pounder with cheese. Actually, he has the voice for it. I don't know what his issue is with his voice. Like, there's like no confirmation from what I understand. He's claimed that he's had tumors and that's like on his like thyroid or something in the past. But like, I've had no proof of this. Like, I've never seen him. He's just told that story. So I don't believe a fucking word he says. So that's why he says his voice is so raspy. It's probably because he screams all day is my theory, but who knows? I don't know. But yes, Rob, good point. Here you go.
You want to tell Tony to shove it up Tony's ass.
Amen, brother. Thank you very much for that. And also,
18 stinking dollars.
how much?
It is 18 American dollars.
Plus 2. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Ron. Oh, sorry, Rob, not Ron. Rob. Thank you.
So we all need.
Oh, I guess he went off the rails then again too, because she cut him again. I'm going back just to see it.
Businesses, I'm obsessed with how do we do more for others than anybody else in the industry. So we all need to focus on developing our skills. Warren Buffett was asked the other day, what do you do about inflation? What does the average person do? And he said, you know, when I interviewed him originally for my financial book, I asked him what was his number one investment, best investment he ever made. And I thought he was going to say Coca-Cola or Geico. And he said, it's what you do. And I said, well, I do a lot of things. Which thing? He goes, well, I went to Dale Carnegie and learned how to communicate more effectively. And he said, Tony, without that, all my other skills have been worthless.
Without Tony Robbins, sorry. Without Tony Robbins' course, Microsoft would have never happened. Bill Gates, the biggest Tony Robbins fan ever. Without Tony Robbins' lessons about how to be a douchebag, I would have never stolen Tesla from another founder. I wouldn't have ruined Twitter. Elon Musk, Tony Robbins student. Give me a break. I don't think he knows Warren Buffett. Not for a second do I think he talked to Warren Buffett.
He goes, and what people need to do right now is
Tony,
invest in themselves, because if you become more skilled, if the dollar goes down, you'll get more dollars. If they change the shekels, you'll get more shekels. If you're the best dentist, or you're the best lawyer, or you're the best podcaster, you're the best anything, you will do well no matter what happens with inflation.
That's not true.
So he said to me, could someone make 2 times as much money in the same amount of time? Do people do it? I said, yeah, 10 times as much, 20 times as much. How? They become more valuable. So today, your job going into 2020.
You're not a person, you're an asset, and start acting like it, bitch. That's what he's telling Rachel. And she's like, yes, this is such great advice. Thank you. I tell ladies to live their dreams, but what you're saying is just to live like you need to make money, like because you have mouths to feed and just do anything for money. Is that what you're saying? Such good advice.
23 is to think through and say, what skills do I need to develop? And it's pretty obvious. Labor is becoming worth less and less and less. Today, you need more cognitive ability, more creativity ability, maybe some.
Just more mindless, inspirational reposts on Instagram. That is what we need to do more of.
Technology ability. That's what's prized. That's what's valued. You know, there's a less than 1% unemployment rate for people making $100,000 or more. And there's a 4 or 5%, depending on the real numbers. I mean, the other day they corrected the numbers. They said there were 1 million new jobs. They found out it was 10,000 new jobs. I mean, the government has really been playing games with the numbers here.
Wait, Rachel, tell him stat. Tell him immediately.
Oh, no, it's okay. I don't get sick. You are not required to get the flu this year. I have like no facts. I am not a medical authority, but
you should get that checked out. He's gonna cough now. The government is ruining our lives. God, I can't. I'm sorry. I hate him already. I hate him so much. And now he's involved with Rachel Hollis again. It's like the biggest joke in the history of the world. It's the biggest joke since 1910.
I mean, the government has really been playing games with the numbers here. Excuse me. So, you know, you just have to say,
probably got COVID and is denying it.
I'm going to take charge of my own life. I'm not going to wait and hope somebody turns it around. And this is my opportunity, because when things get challenging, most small businesses, even big businesses, pull back. If during the time people pull back, you do more for others, you'll surge and you'll take over a portion of that marketplace.
It's like this idea of,
okay, I can't wait for this insight. Yeah, if only the world worked like that. Like, oh, if I just do 10% more work, I'll get 10% more return. That ain't how it works. Okay? It's not. Sorry to break it to you.
You're not playing to win, you're playing not to lose. And when you back up in that way, when you take your foot off the gas, when you stop caring as much out of fear, that's when everything starts to slip through your fingers. I think I know going into 2020, the way that I was able to guide the business to stay afloat, to do all the things to continue to thrive and make money,
was from the government, called a PPP loan. And I threw it all away because I'm an idiot. Go on. Tell me about your Quibi show. How's that going?
Was 100% because I had navigated my business through 2008. I didn't know how. I didn't know what the hell we were going to do. But I was like, wait, I have figured this out before. I have been in a luxury-based client business in 2008 when no one was spending money. And I didn't die then. So damn it, I'm not going to die now.
You were married to Dave Hollis, a Disney executive at that time, Rachel Hollis. That's the secret formula.
I'm just going to find a way, right? Just going to keep going.
That's awesome.
But if you're coming into this, like, let's be real. I have a lot of tools. You have all the tools in your toolkit. If someone's listening to this right now and they're like, y'all, I feel discouraged. I'm feeling weary. I'm feeling emotionally spent. I don't know.
She just made a podcast the other day that she went bankrupt because she did everything wrong, and she like scheduled all this stuff in advance and then couldn't pay the vendors, and she just started paying off, or she paid off her millions of dollars of debt. Hold on. Business expert. Good job. Her solution is find a rich man, date them, / marry them. It works for her. That's a foolproof plan, but there ain't enough men out there for all of us.
How to stand up and go again. What is some of the advice you would give them to, like, okay, what's going to help them feel better today?
How you feel better
Well, first
today?
of all, they've got to have to take back control of their mind and their body. When I was in my worst possible place in my life, multiple times I found myself there, but early on, I realized the only thing that's going to be is I feed my mind. You know, Jim Rohn used to teach me, he said, you know, stand guard at the door of your mind every day. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, you know, if I had a cup of coffee here, your coffee, and I, you know, drop some sugar in your coffee, what's going to happen? I said, I'm going to have sweet coffee. He goes, what if your best friend by accident drops 1 drop of strychnine? I said, you're dead. He goes, well, life is both sugar and strychnine, so watch your coffee. In other words, every day you have to feed your mind. And so the number one habit I developed when I was 17, I still have today, is
delusion.
30 minutes a day of reading, not reading clickbait that comes to you, not reading social media bullshit, a book, something that's got philosophy or skill or strategy.
His books are bullshit also, and hers are as well.
Strategy that's going to make you stronger. And today you can do that with audio, obviously. So I call that net time, no extra time. You can do it while you're driving your car, while you're working out. That's pretty much like how I try to help people initially, was through audio, because video is even more demanding in terms of your attention, but audio you can do while you're doing other things. And so I think that's critical. You also have to every day make your body stronger, because when your energy is low, you can know all the tools and you're not going to apply them. If you're the most powerful computer in the world and you plug it in and there's not enough voltage, the screen's going to be screwed up. You're not going to tap your power.
Okay,
and so
Tony,
during
hurry
this
it up.
time of COVID, so many people have been cooped up, and so they don't move anymore. And
By
plus,
the horrible government who just wants to ruin our lives.
they don't go to the office, even most people anymore. So now they have no stimulus, and so they're sitting at home, shoulders tend to drop, they're in front of screens, or they're dealing with their kids, and what's happened is there's no energy. So when you have low energy, you're not going to have a great relationship intimately. When you're low energy, you're not going to be a great parent. You're going to be a good one at best, maybe a poor one. When you're low energy, you're not going to build your business. So the reason in my seminars, you know, they see people jumping, you know, 20,000 people jumping in a stadium, and they think it's some pump up. No, we strategically change people.
No, it's a manipulation tactic to get people really physically tired. We keep you there all day long so you feel like you're getting amazing value, but we're actually saying nothing that's not just the most obvious drivel that you've ever heard. And then because you're so physically exhausted and stuck in a room and cold and no food all day, then we sell you the coaching plan, and then you feel more emotionally manipulated, or you don't feel the emotional manipulation as much because you're just so tired and you're like not thinking straight. That's why we do it. Oh, thank you for revealing that.
People's physiology, the way they're breathing, the way they're moving, the way they're experiencing, to put them in a peak biochemistry. You know, Stanford did a study that came to me during COVID, because so many people, depression went out of control during COVID because people had no compelling future. And then throw on top of that inflation, and throw on top of that a lot of young people say they don't even want kids because they believe that the whole world's going to disappear in 12 years because of an ecological disaster, which is total bullshit. But
climate change denier, we need a siren. Climate change denier, COVID denier, government hater. We got them all, folks. We got the trifecta, the genius trifecta right here, Tony. Just buy my book and listen to me instead of the government. Who is trying to manipulate you more? Let's do a contest.
that fear has become a part of people's mindset, and they believe it. Whatever you believe, you act on, you behave on. So much of that is there. So how do you shift that? Well, you're not going to shift it by telling them good stuff. It'll go in one ear and out the other. So what I did with Stanford, they came in and they had two people went through my Date with Destiny program, a 6-day seminar I have, and they both.
Okay. I know this is going to be bullshit. So Stanford came to him in 2020 to look at his Date with Destiny seminar. Okay, that's what we've gotten so far. He said a lot of fucking words. That's the gist of what I'm hearing.
Were clinically depressed, and they came out with no symptoms.
Okay, let me go back. Hold on.
The Destiny program, a 6-day seminar I have, and they both were clinically depressed, and they came out with no symptoms of depression. And they said this.
Two people had clinical depression and then in 6 days didn't have clinical depression. Hold on, let me go back. I cut it off in a weird spot. Sorry, start again.
Bullshit. But that fear has become a part of people's mindset, and they believe it. Whatever you believe, you act on, you behave on. So much of that is there. So how do you shift that? Well, you're not going to shift it by telling them good stuff. It'll go in one ear and out the other. So what I did with Stanford, they came in and they had...
Okay, Stanford came in.
Two people went through my Date with Destiny program.
Two people came in and went through the Date with Destiny. Okay, so two people went in with clinical depression.
A 6-day seminar I have. And they both were clinically depressed, and they came out with no symptoms of depression. And they said, this is unbelievable. What data do you have? And I said, well, I've got tens of thousands of testimonials.
That's not data, you dumb idiot.
And they said, but has there been any scientific data? So I agreed to have them come do a study. Lasted a year. And it was fantastic because they taught me that depression, if you study what's called meta-studies, the study of all the studies, they found that only 40% of people who go for therapy and drugs, cognitive, SSRIs, Prozac, Zoloft, all these things, only 40% improve at all. 60% don't improve an ounce.
Go on.
Of the 40% that improve, on average, they improve 50%. So they're half as depressed as they were. Now, some people get totally well, some people not at all, but most of them are in that middle world.
Yeah, that's what I'm sure there's a study that says that clearly. Okay, go on. This is 100% bullshit, by the way. I'm just like pretending to give it a fair listen.
So, well, that's not much better than a placebo. And they said, well, that's true. I said, what's the best individual study you've ever seen? They said 2 years ago, Johns Hopkins University did a study where they took 30 days of giving people psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and therapy for a month. And the results were 4 times greater than anything it ever saw because 53% of the people a month later had no symptoms of depression. Nothing like it ever. But psilocybin's
Rachel's like, I've done mushrooms. I had a panic attack at the Paul McCartney concert.
illegal.
I called it a panic attack, though. Oh, did I say that already? Sorry.
It's kind of inconvenient. It's not passed any laws to be able to done. So he said, what if we did a study, well, instead of psilocybin and drugs, it's you, and we'll do the same comparison that they use to a focus group.
Okay, so magic mushrooms and therapy for a month versus 6 days at a Tony Robbins conference. Okay, which one can cure depression faster? People, please stop. This is, we're past this as a society. Why does he have any customers? Why does she have any listeners? This is bad. We're in for it. The world is ending. The fact that this guy has not been arrested by now and put in jail for being stupid. I don't really mean that, but he's not someone no one should give him money.
And the results were so profound, Rachel, that they literally didn't publish it at first. They sent out the raw data.
They didn't publish it at first because it was too profound.
Blinded to 2 different organizations to analyze it to make sure it was accurate. 100% of the people 30 days later who went through Date with Destiny had no depression. 19% of the people.
100% of the people who went through my program have 0 depression. Okay.
We hate him.
Okay, Tony. Okay, thank you. Let me see this data, please.
Had
How did you judge it?
suicidal ideation before they came. No one had suicidal ideation. 1 year later, they followed up. 72% reduction in negative emotions, 51% increase in positive emotions a year later. Now, why? Because there's a biochemical aspect.
Because they were paid to fill out a survey that said you'll get a free chance to win a cruise if you put 5 stars on all of this stupid shit that probably didn't even happen. Why are we listening to this, Rachel?
I didn't just teach people how to perceive their life differently, how to shift their beliefs or values.
This is so desperate.
We put people through a shift in their bio.
He's so desperate for customers. He's selling this so hard. Why? Because there's no fucking contents to it. There's no meat to this potato.
Chemistry as they're going through the event. And now they do it. They did this study with people. They studied my body to see what happened biochemically for 3 years. Blew their mind. But one of the things they found is that my audience mirrors me. So they did this when I did a digital seminar. So Unleashed Power Within with 25,000 people from 195 countries in every time zone. And they sent people out and did their blood, measured everything on them.
They sent people out to where? Every country in the world at every time period and just check people's blood? Okay, Tony, come on. This is like the scammers who misspell words on purpose because the people who will not realize that it's an obvious phishing scam or a scam. Those are your targets. Those are your marks. Because they're not catching up, they're not catching obvious signs that this scam is happening. This is who he's appealing to. Like, no one would believe this that has a rational brain, that this is a real study that ever happened or exists or could exist. But people who will buy this and believe this, that's who he's selling to. Dummies. I'm sorry. It's true. Or really, really, really vulnerable people. And it's sad, honestly.
Throughout the 4 days. Unbelievable. If you watch it, it looks like, and like graph it looks like music. People follow my biochemistry almost identically. And there's a place that they've identified with people like Tom Brady or the group.
The next thing he's like, I'm actually Jesus Christ reincarnated. Actually, I didn't know if I mentioned that. 59% of people said that I am Jesus Christ. Actually, 100% of people believe that I am Jesus Christ.
Group that's won the Stanley Cup multiple times, the Tampa Lightning, that there is a state that people who are in the hole get into that allows them to perform at the highest level at the most stressful place. And they call it.
So he's comparing himself to the entire Tampa Bay Lightning hockey team and Tom Brady. Okay.
The championship biochemistry. And I go there in every event, but everyone goes there with me and lives there for days. And what it is your testosterone surges, whether you're a man or woman, doesn't matter, which gives you this incredible drive. And your cortisol, which is the stress hormone, drops through the floor. So you think clearly. That's why Tom Brady can be down by 2 touchdowns with 2 minutes and somehow comes back to win, right?
Didn't he just lose to the Bears, the Chicago Bears, who are like a notoriously bad team recently?
He finds that place. Well, these people have that place and they learned in that state. And so it stayed with them. That's why a year later, it's still there. So it requires more than just the intellect. It requires more than just the tools. It requires training the body and the emotions to be in the right place. Because if you think about it, we all love our intellect because we don't like going through some of our emotions. But what really changes your life is all emotions. Emotions start wars and emotions create peace. Emotions is where children come from, that's where they come from. And everything in our life comes from emotion, and yet we go cognitive. Really, truly, this is where we live. And when you learn to master your emotions and direct your emotions, it doesn't matter if it's winter, spring, or fall. And that's what I do with people. That's what we're going to do during the challenge. Show them the tools.
He forgets that summer exists. Summer, that's a season as well. What do we do then? Just tan. I saw this pop out on the chat.
You want to tell Tony to shove it up Tony's ass.
That's what I want to tell him too.
Have experienced some of these tools, even in a few hours, so they can take back control and not be in a place of uncertainty and fear.
Yeah, coming into our conversation today, my boyfriend was like, "Oh, you're going to interview him again, like so soon? What's going on? What are you going to talk about?" And I said,
"My boyfriend, my boo thing." She had to bring him up. She got to let Tony know she's taken, baby. I'm not single, Tony. So the email you just sent me, the picture of your penis you just sent me through text, I have a boyfriend.
My boyfriend.
Where's boo thing? I have a ghost picture, but it's this one.
My guardian angels, my spirit guides.
Oh, it's a different ghost.
Boo thing.
He's doing this challenge, and as soon as your team told me about it, I was like, absolutely, because number one, I know for a fact that you're going to tell people that you'll hang out with them for 2 hours and it'll be like 8. You're going to
probably be 2.5
Your team's like, shut up, Rachel.
Rachel.
Know you're going to over deliver so hard, number one, and number two,
so hard, rock hard.
Plenty of people can walk into any kind of personal development, a seminar, a conference, different things. If you walk into an experience with an open heart and an open mind, you are going to glean so much wisdom out of that time. And something like this where it's free, I'm like, you literally can sit at home and watch this and get ideas that make you feel.
It's going to be a giant sales pitch for his in-person conferences and his online courses and his books and his shit and his hair and his amazingness. That's what it's for. It's like going, oh, I get a free Vegas show. All I have to do is sit here and listen to this timeshare offer for 4 hours. That's what it is. Get a clue.
So good as long as you go into it with like, okay, I'm going to try. Because when I went to UPW for the first time, I think I've told you this story, I don't know. I took my team from work and I was like,
that no longer exists because I have driven my company into the ground, but I digress. This is when she said will she tell the story about how there was no women on the stage? Is that the story she's about to tell? Because she's going to tell it in like a positive light. But back then she's like, oh, there's no women. Well, I think the story should have been, there's no women. This guy's a misogynist. I don't want to support him. Instead, she's like, maybe I could be the first woman. Oh, amazing.
I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what this is. This guy, this is crazy. Like, he's so loud and we're jumping. And I felt myself start to close down. Like, I felt myself start to like have my mind talk me out of everything that was happening. And I was like, you know what, you guys, let's just go for it. Let's just be here. Let's be present where our feet are. Let's see what this is all about. Let's jump hard. Let's dance. Let's scream. Let's do whatever they're telling us to do. And when we get in the car to drive back home at the end of this conference, we can talk all the shit we want. We could be like, that was crazy. Every single one of us, from the most skeptical to the person who was like into it, all 5 of us had profound life-changing experiences.
Amazing.
I am not overstating this. I've written about it. I've talked about it endlessly. I couldn't have known what was going to happen going into that place. And it wasn't, I want people to get this if they're not latching onto it.
I'm not latching on, baby. Kendra's not latching on either.
Like, I'm not drinking the Rachel Hollis Kool-Aid.
Amen. A woman.
It's not, I think it's really easy to look from the outside at the work that you do and think like, oh, Tony's gonna change me. No. You and your team have created an experience that gives people an opportunity to make life-changing change. That's you've fiddled.
Yeah, it's meant to make you think that, Rachel, so that you spend more money with him over and over and over again. That's the manipulation you're feeling. The original feeling of like, I don't want to do this, was probably your intuition, as she would say, your gut feeling that she didn't listen to. She'll say in everything else, oh, I listened to my intuition, I trust it. But in this case, oh no, my intuition was wrong, that it was lame. It was actually amazing once I just let myself believe that it was amazing. Okay, that's convenient. And it's like, what did you actually, tell me what you learned. What did you learn? Tell me one thing, because other than like jumping up and down and feeling like group mass, training, which is like just a phenomenon that once you're in a group setting like that and there's music pumping through the air for that long, yeah, you're going to feel something. People who are probably planted in the audience get up and say, I want to kill myself. And then Tony says, don't do that. And he goes, oh, I'm saved. Okay, that may or may not even be a real person that like actually has a problem. Yeah, because you're seeing and witnessing all these emotional people hysterically crying because of the manipulation. Like, what did you actually take away? What business tips did you get? I haven't heard that once. It's just about all the feeling that she had. Yeah, that's called being manipulated.
With it and mixed it around and figured it out until it is like clockwork. Yeah. The ability to have 15,000 people like take it over the world. Like you can't know it unless you're in it. And
the only thing she could do with that information is copy it and do it for women specifically. Okay, so is everyone supposed to have their own empowerment conference and just do the same exact thing that the last one that you went to does? That's the only thing that she took away that I can see.
So that's just my tout. Nobody's paying me to say this. I just, for my audience, to sign up for something like this that is totally free, that I know for a fact you're going to over deliver and just give people ideas and information. I literally I can't recommend anything more.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Well, I'm thrilled. I mean, I want to help people during these times.
And I would also love to suck your dick at your personal request. Just call me at any time. I'm sorry, I'm being misogynistic myself, but that was an emotional dick suck. Okay.
People are most scared, and when they need it the most people often won't invest in themselves because they're so down in that place.
That wasn't even a question. That was just a suck up.
So I figured, screw it. Let me just go help 1 million people and over deliver to them like crazy, and then they can grow from there. They want to continue, they can, but they'll have really made a shift. And I really want people to experience that feeling of certainty. There's so much uncertainty in the world right now. Where's
the government?
the world going? Where's the economy going? What's going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my life? What's going to happen to my business? And, uncertainty doesn't go away. When people make more money, then they worry, well, will someone take it? Will they raise my taxes? When people say, oh, I'll get a relationship, then I'll be certain. Then they get in a relationship and go, what if they die? What if they leave me? What if they cheat on me? Think, oh, I'll certain when I have children. And then you go like, that's uncertainty for the rest of my life once you have them, right? So developing that certainty inside you, regardless of what's happening in the outside world, becoming more unshakable is really what this is about. And it only happens not by hoping, not by worrying. It happens by taking some simple actions around your body, around your emotions, around your finances, around your family, around your career. And we're going to cover those, like you say, I say 2 hours. It usually goes 2.5 or 3.
Yeah.
But again, it's not partially free. It's totally free. And it's just designed it's my way of.
He's like, you need to have positive thoughts. You need to only focus on the positive. Well, the government is really screwing me over here. Like, how many times do you say negative things about the government? And about climate change being fake and the government lying and all that. Okay, that's not a negative thought that you've allowed into your brain coffee. Give me a break. Shut up.
Of giving back to people, and when people's lives change, they usually do more things and they help more people, and it's a virtuous cycle. So I'm really grateful. So anybody who wants to go can go to becomeunshakable.com. It's January 24th through the 28th. It's 2 p.m. Eastern, but people are doing it from all over the earth, literally.
Becomemanipulatable.com. In just 2.5 short hours, I will have you thinking that you need to buy something from me.
In 195 countries. But if you go to Become Unshakable, you can just register yourself. And I hope you'll bring maybe your family members or some coworkers so we can hopefully affect the people around you as well. And it's fun to do together.
No.
What do you say to, or do you have, of course you do, you're always going to have a thought for people, but a lot of my audience deals with making a decision to make change, to step forward, to like sort of, okay, I'm going to believe in myself and I'm going to go in this direction that I feel like my heart is calling me in. And then has someone in their life, a partner, a parent.
Oh my God. She will not let this go. That like Dave didn't support her dreams 20 years ago. There's no one in your audience that has this. This is your own personal gripe with your ex-husband. Get over it already.
In-laws who
in-laws
are,
for example,
really upset as they begin to change, right? Like, oh, you've changed. You're different now. This, that whole thing of like, oh, now.
She asked this question of him before. Like, it's for you. We all get it. It's for you, Rachel.
Now you're going to listen to a personal development conference. Like, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
How,
I would say the same thing.
Never, if you're a people pleaser by nature and you're not really sure what you're doing yet, how do you encourage people to stand firmly in this decision that they're making to try and make their life better?
Well, that's why the event is designed to create conditioning, right? It's like what controls you is your habits. If you have a habit of being uncertain, if you have a habit of pleasing other people, that habit usually runs you. And what happens when they get in the event, what I talk to people about is I say, how many of you have somebody, when I'm doing an Unleashed Power Within event, say 4 days, and it's immersion day and night, 12 hours a day. That's real immersion, right? And they make huge changes, as you well know. You've been through it. You just described it.
Yeah.
And then I say, how many of you got somebody at home that's a little...
What did she describe? She described, I can't explain it. I just felt like, ooh, you did this and gook and doop-a-doop. Yeah, great explanation. I really understand the concept now.
Worried you're here. And 80% of the room raises their hand. And I go, what are they worried about? Have they ever been to the event? No. Do they know me? No. Well, what are they worried about? They're worried you're going to change. And I said, so instead of going home and telling them all the changes you're going to make, I wouldn't do that. I said, I'd go home and I'd just go to work on your life and just be more productive. And at some point, they're going to go, wow, you seem to be happy. You seem to be strong. You seem more successful. What are you doing? When you start a business, though, if that's, I know a large part of your audience, and that's why I love them. I feel like they're sisters on the path with me as a brother, because, I've got 110 companies, 112 companies now. And I've started from nothing and built them up to $7 billion in revenue. So I've really had.
You have 120 companies? Why? You do the same thing over. We have like one company for every day of the week. Like, what the fuck? Okay.
A growth path over the decades. But when you look at that, it's like the minute you do that, these people are worried not only about change, but they don't want you to be disappointed. They don't want you to, have problems. But disappointment is the secret to success, believe it or not. Disappointment either destroys you or drives you. And so you've got to make it about what you're going to do. And what I've tried to do with people there is say, listen, I'm hearing you, and I know you're loving on me right now. I know you're trying to protect me, but this is something that I feel called to do, and I've got to do it. I may fail completely, but I got to do it. And if you can stay with your conviction of what your mission is, again, what makes all of this work is finding something you value more than yourself. If you're just doing this for you, it's not going to happen. Well, you and I both know we'll do more for our kids. I got 5 kids and 5 grandkids. You do more for your kids than you'll ever do for yourself. That's just human nature, right? It's one of the things I love about humans is at our truest nature, we care about others often more than ourselves. So why not use that? And so if you can find a mission, whether it's your family or whether it's what your customers or clients, or whether it's something you're doing in your community, that it gets you up early, keeps you up late, excites you, you're going to be alive from that. And you're going to have energy and drive for that more than just, I'm going to make money and I'm going to be okay. There's nothing wrong with it doing that also. But if that's your only goal, you're probably not going to make it, because you have to have something larger than yourself. Because what I always tell people is most people overestimate what they're going to do in a year, and they underestimate what they can do in a decade.
When you said that the first time, I don't know if it was UPW or like the business conference, the first time I ever heard you say that, I like fell over in my chair, because that's it. It is probably one of the biggest.
Rachel, pay me $1 million and I'll tell you all this dumb shit. I can tell you these stupid quotes from the back of my hand from like being involved in this industry in a very small capacity. If you think that is amazing, life-changing shiz.
They're going to be dropping some really powerful, amazing, life-changing shiz.
Like, I can do it for half the price Tony's charging. Just call me, please.
Biggest issues facing, I'm going to say kids today, that sounds ridiculous, but people in their 20s or a younger generation is wanting things with immediacy. Like, it takes so long, sometimes 2 decades, 3 or 4, to get to the one thing that changes everything. Yeah. And if I had needed, career success, or to have a published book, or to have a successful podcast, if I had needed any of those things to happen within a year or 2 years or 5, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Literally, nobody would know my name. If I have a superpower, it's a willingness to play a long game. It's like,
because you have money, Rachel, to play with. You have a secure, very secure at the time, probably $1 million income, $1 million home that you can lounge in while you get your business going. Shut up. It's not a superpower. It's called privilege. Get with the program and not the UPW.
Like, all right, we're trying to do something that's lasting here. So I freaking love that idea that it takes so much longer than you think it will, but you give up after 11 months because you think, oh, well, my goal was to have this done by the end of 2022.
I was guilty of that. That's the only reason.
Get yourself a rich husband, idiot. Come on. You gave up? Did you marry rich? Because if not, then keep working it, babe.
I know it is like I would beat myself up about I didn't achieve this, I didn't achieve that. But fortunately, I had a mission, so it wasn't just about me. So I kept going and kept going, just like you. And then you hit thresholds where it's like, oh my God, 3 years into it, you're doing more than you thought you'd do. And
these are 2 raging narcissists waiting for the other one to shut the fuck up so that they can say their piece about themselves. That is this conversation. 10
years, 5 years, but a decade. You're going to blink your eyes. Every person listening, you're going to blink your eyes and 10 years are going to go by. I mean, it's how it really works. As you get older, it seems even faster.
2030, guys.
But what will happen is you're going to arrive 10 years from now. The question's where? Who are you going to be? What are you going to be like? And the time to decide that is now. That isn't to say you won't make progress the first year. But if your expectations, by the way, the worst thing that can happen when you go to Vegas is to win. Because then you expect to win every time. So if you do achieve everything in the first year,
it's better to lose your fortune than to make a fortune. I've always said that. Yeah. That's actually the stage I'm in right now, is losing my whole fortune. So I'm actually more fortunate than others. Yeah.
Most people don't develop the muscle. So then when a 2008 happens, or 2020, or COVID, or inflation, they have no foundation because they're just lucky. They're in the right place at the right time. And you see those people just melt down. I mean, this is my 45th, I'm about to end my 46th year doing this. Started when I was 2, I tell people, of course, right? But, I mean, the amount of challenges that I face, like you just talked about, I made it through 2008. Well, I've been through 2008. I've been through 2001. I've been through 1999. I've been through 1990.
He went to 1910. He was through 1776. He actually revolutionized the country.
92. I go back all those years, 1977 at 18% interest rates, and I figured out how to go through all those. So my level of confidence is relatively high, as you might imagine, that you can throw anything at me, I'm going to find the way. So it's not.
Scammer's got a scam. I will give him that. Grifter's got a grift. I think he's going to give this up anytime soon. So yeah, I think you're right. I think Rachel's whole thing is never giving up. Yeah, if that makes you happy by literally embarrassing yourself for many years, and that's what you want to be known as, the never give up person, you're doing it. Good job. Tony, he will grift and lie and steal and cheat and say whatever to get money. Great. If that's what you're going for, you're doing it. Congratulations. Good work, everybody. Team effort here. Team effort in grifting.
Just confidence, it's competence that comes through time. Now, some people go, I got 10 years of experience. And I look at them and go, maybe 1 year of experience 9 times. Because some people grow the first year and then they do the same crap for 9 more years and call it 10 years of experience. No, that's the same. You got 1 year of experience.
It's not
you didn't
good.
Keep growing.
It's not good at all.
I really think
Makes
sometimes
no
not getting
sense.
what you want is how you get what you need. But you should still pursue what you want with full fervor, but then not be disappointed. It's like, this is a stepping stone to the next level. It's like, I always say to people, how long would you give your average child to learn how to walk? Before you shut them off and go, dude, you're just not a walker. Stop trying. You crazy? My kid's going to keep trying until they walk. Well, that's
never
why
heard that one before.
But when it comes to success in business or in life, they go so far and then they pull back usually because they're not being rewarded enough. And you're absolutely right. We're a society because of this device that has been literally trained with dopamine
Calculator?
to be able to get a feeling we want instantly and be in control. But that's not real life, and that's not human relationships. That's why so many relationships are messed up. People expect that person to respond the way I want. That's why
As they talk through Zoom. Okay, cool.
so many people today, young people, have been taught in college, if someone doesn't believe what you believe, they're dangerous or they could harm you with words.
Right.
Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We have a culture
Or coming
that's
together in conversation with someone to learn about a different philosophy, ideology, like to be in community and conversation and learning and growing together. I thought,
But,
was
the
whole
pendulum
point
gets
of
swung
what
really
we were
far, and
doing.
then eventually it's so.
I love talking to other people and having them hear my perspective as Tony goes just railroads on top of her and speaks over her. They're talking about the virtues of human connection and conversations and literally are speaking over each other as we speak. This is so good. Okay, let me go back. Let me relive this moment. Hold on.
Learning and growing together. I thought,
But,
was
the
whole
pendulum
point
gets
of
swung
what
really
we were
far, and
doing
then
on this
eventually
planet.
it's so out of whack that we find a way to balance it out. And I think that's going to happen for sure. But, I remember when I was,
So
I got this
embarrassing.
phone call from
my God.
President Clinton. I was with my friend Peter Guber at his house at Christmas time, and he goes, the president's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. So I got on the phone. We had this conversation.
The president of the government that you love so much. You and Mr. Booger were hanging out, and the president called. Which president? Please tell me. I have a feeling which president you like more between the last two. Go on, Tony. The president wants to talk to you. Please tell me the story.
At his house at Christmas time, and he goes, the president's on the phone. He wants to talk to you.
Wait.
Clinton. But
Goober?
I remember when I was, I got this phone call from President Clinton. I was with my friend Peter.
Okay, President Clinton. So when was this? 1999? And I don't think it ever happened anyways, but what's the relevance, please?
Guber at his house at Christmas time, and he goes, the president's on the phone. He wants to talk to you. So I got on the phone. We had this conversation, and he asked me if I would come to Camp David to work with him. He had several people that recommended me, and he was going through a really tough time. It was the beginning of his tenure as president.
He was going through a tough time fucking interns at the White House. Yeah, a really tough time for him, I'm sure. Shut up. I don't think this is real anyways, but glossed over that one. Tony is a guy who wants to protect his fellow man, that sexual harassment is not a real thing. And, workplace violations are just whiny women complaining about the good old days, Go on.
And I said, Mr. President, it would be a total honor, but I want you to know I'm not a fan. So I said, if you want somebody who's going to come and just tell you what you want to hear, I'm probably the wrong guy. And there was this long pause, and he had a little giggle, and he said, well, I like somebody who thinks for themselves. And I said, great, then we're going to be great. I hung up the phone, and Peter said to me, you just told the President of the United States you're not a fan. And I said, well, I'm just being honest. But I became a fan as I got to know him, and regardless of politics, how he cared about people, where things were. But I remember working with him on the same day, going across to the Congress and working with the head of the Congress at that time, Gingrich,
The head of the Congress?
On the other side, the Republican side. And I worked with both sides simultaneously.
You trying to say the Speaker of the House, you dumb fuck?
On the same day. And today, if you talk to the other side, you're radioactive. It's the most stupid thing on the planet, because I'm an independent. I just want the best thing.
Yeah, you're an independent. Okay. You're an independent. Give me a break. Give me a break here.
With whoever it is, I'm still that way. But we've changed our culture. But the culture will balance out. It has to. It's getting to such an extreme. And you see,
he hates woke culture. He hates climate change. He hates the vaccine. Okay, COVID's a hoax. Got it. I'm starting to paint a picture. Yeah, he hates Clinton. Okay.
This happened throughout history.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I love to...
Definitely to what? To what? What was the response to that? Definitely, yes. Totally heard you there. Okay. Anyways, back to me.
The reminder that, like, none of this is original. You know, I think that it's so easy to get...
You mean your content? Your whole mindset? Your whole career? Rachel, is that what we're discussing here? That's not original? Okay.
Caught up in the idea that, like, this is the worst it's ever been. I'm like, if my grandma was still alive and she could talk to you about what she lived through, like, this is not, it's very dangerous to buy in.
I'm rich. I'm doing fine. My grandma was poor. So obviously things in the world at large are much better.
And to, like you were talking about earlier, to buy into someone else having an opinion in your own mind, right? We start to have our narrative changed for us. And I think that there is this pushback on the idea of optimism or hope or you know, trying to stay centered and strong, like you're not getting worked up enough about this. How do we navigate a world that sort of
it's not about getting worked up enough. It's about continuing to sit on your ass and do nothing, especially when you have tax dollars that you're hoarding away, or you have some sort of privilege in this world, and you're looking and you're hearing scientists say, yeah, we're headed for a crisis in the climate, and people like these two idiots go, no, I don't believe it. And then they just sit on their ass and do nothing. That's why people who are like, please, stop going in your private jet everywhere. Start to think about others. And they go, no. That's what people are upset about. Finally, after decades and decades and decades of taking it up the ass, people are sick of it, because now we have social media and we're communicating more and people are getting outraged more. Has nothing to do with optimism, has nothing to do with hope, has nothing to do with we're not positive enough. It's that we're sick of people like this saying the key is to buy my course and hope for the best, while they have actual resources to be able to make change and they fucking choose not to. That's why we're pissed. Fuck you.
Wants us to do what everyone else is doing, and when you make a different choice, we're sort of ostracized for it.
You got to decide that you don't need a million fake friends on social media. What you need are a few good friends that align with you on values, and that your life is about something more than yourself, and it's about growing, and that living in fear is a great way. A decision made from fear is almost always the wrong decision. Not always, but almost always. Yeah. In a fear place, you don't make the right decisions. You go in a place of scarcity of anything. And so I think if you can find I tell people, like, people say, what do I do? What do I do? The first thing you should do is get around where it's better and let something hit you. Get around people that are doing better. Get around people that have a different mindset. Your job is to put yourself in proximity with the kind of people whose quality of life you want to have. And, in the beginning, I would be around people and they were up here and I was down here, but I didn't care about the ego thing. Let me work as
How did you do that, Tony?
a janitor. Let me do anything.
Oh, you were a janitor for millionaires? That's how you got your start? Okay.
I want to get in proximity so I start to learn what they think, how they are. So you don't need 25 friends. And if you're looking at social media, all the studies show the more time you spend on social media, and especially for women, even more so than men, the more depression that shows up, because you're not comparing to real lives. You're comparing to someone's filters, angles, positions, storytelling, and it's not real. And so it'd be best to get back to what's real. And the only way to do that is cut off a lot of the media, because there's nothing wrong with the media. They're good people.
Tony Robbins.
They have a job.
Meetings.
Their job is to get your attention. It doesn't matter how they do it. So it's not about education. It's not.
I bet he spends millions on Facebook ads and Instagram ads, because I see them pop up every single time I search anything about him. I get them for like a year. So I'm sure the very evil he's claiming that you should ignore is the reason he has any money in his bank account.
It's not about informing you. It's about startling you, because there's so much information. We're drowning in information. We're starving through wisdom. So their way to get money is eyeballs. How do you get eyeballs? Clickbait. Put a title that hooks people, angers people, upsets people. The article doesn't
like every single ad that you've ever done, Tony. Okay.
even have to match. The minute you click, they make money.
Same thing with Rachel. She's like, how to cure your anxiety in 5 minutes is her podcast titles half the time. How to live your life the best. How to break up and win your breakup. Like, okay, that's not clickbait. Okay.
The minute you turn on that television and do it. Well, today it's following you. And so it taps into our survival mechanism, which is always going to have a negative bias. Because it's always saying, how do I protect myself? What could kill me? What could hurt me? How do I run from it? How do I freeze so they don't notice? How do I fight for it? But that survival mechanism is not going to give you a quality of life. Again, I always tell people, your brain is not designed to make you happy. That's your job, right? Your job. And you can have happiness in winter,
I not my brain?
and spring, and summer and fall. You can be in the best time in the world. In 2006 was the peak of the economic well-being of this country for most people. The absolute extraordinary peak. Some exceptions, but the peak. There were more people unhappy in 2006 than 10 years earlier when we were in a recessionary type of period. Well, why is that? Because their expectations were I should get a house with no job, with nothing, and people were getting them. And when that thing stopped, then all of a sudden everything was upsetting to them. Well, after a while, little things made them happy.
So have no expectations, but expect everything of yourself and get around people who are better than you so that you know that you could be better. I'm so confused. I don't, it's like, there's like the word salad jumble is becoming too much, too jumbled.
Like, who's happier? Someone who wins the lottery 3 years later or somebody who becomes a quadriplegic? They've done studies. 3 years later.
Oh, they made a cut. They made a cut on that part. Oh my God. He probably said something really offensive. Oh no. Okay, let's go back.
Or somebody who becomes a quadriplegic. They've done studies. 3 years later, their happiness adjusts to where it was before the act. The person who's a quadriplegic will get, if they're not drugged, will get excitement by learning to move their finger, whereas before they took it for granted.
If they're not drugged? What the fuck was that? You want a quadriplegic in the hospital to not be drugged? Is that some sort of offensive thing? That a no-no? That if you were a real warrior, you'd suffer without drug? What are you talking about?
And they'll get back to the same level of happiness. The person that won the lottery now has all these people want money from them. They're pissed at them. They take advantage of them. And eventually they balance out and get to the same level of happiness or unhappiness they had before.
It's like, how do you even equate happiness, first of all? All these studies, it's like on a scale of 1 to 5, look at these 5 emojis and tell me what smile you are at. Like, there's really no way to quantify any of this shit. So just to say that, like, oh, this is a fact and this is a study is bonkers to begin with.
Like clockwork within 3 years. So it's not your world that's making you happy or unhappy. It's what you're doing internally. And that's why I say to people, there's 2 worlds.
Guess what? Tony's a millionaire and he is not a quadriplegic. Yeah, well, how about you take your advice? I like someone's comments. Like, why don't you try it? Try it out. If you believe in this so deeply, why don't you get yourself into a situation where you no longer have use of your legs and arms and see how you fucking like it. How happy you are.
There's the external world that you can't control, but you can influence it. The internal world you have control over if you learn how to control it and if you develop the right habits.
Through my course.
This is the only world that matters, because all hell could be breaking loose and you can have an extraordinary time with you and your family and still do extremely well.
Me too.
And eventually the season will change. So if you do well during any season, who cares? The season's going to change again. What follows the dark night of the soul is a beautiful morning. It's always how it works. If you were God, you'd set it up that way, right? You test people and then you give them a chance to enjoy. And then
I'd let them burn in hell for all of their feelings and all of their decisions. That's what I would do.
Test them and give them a chance.
I'm an Old Testament girly.
That's the way. That's the seasons. Winter tests us. Spring grows easily. Summer tests us. Fall, we get rewarded disproportionately. Then we go back to
summer tests us. Not in my school.
Winter again. That's your life. And to think that life is a straight line is absurd. If I leave here to fly to my place, let's say in Hawaii or Fiji, it's not a straight line. It's constant correction. And if you're a pilot, you don't freak out. You go, oh my God, 80% of the time I'm off course. You just go.
Don't tell the flat earthers that. They probably like you.
Oh, off course. You correct a zillion times and you land on a dime, 7,000, 3,000, whatever you're going miles away.
Huh?
That's how we make it in life. But in order to do that, you have to have a vision.
Tony's key to success is talking so fast and about nothing important that you are tricked into believing that something's happening. But in reality, there's nothing he's saying at all that's relevant or interesting or helpful.
Beyond what's going on right now. In order to do that, you got to get yourself in a new environment with different people who have a different way of being. If you hang out with the average person, they're good humans, but they're controlled by the conditioning of our culture, which is primarily the news, which again is not looking for your best interest. They're not trying to harm you.
Oh yeah, you're looking for everyone's best interest, Mr. Charge $20,000 for a conference. Okay, babe.
I don't think. They're giving you what your brain responds to, which is fear.
I am forever in awe of how passionate you are. Always. In a conference, in person, at your home, in a Zoom call, and after decades of doing this work.
It's called making money. It's how he makes money.
And I'm curious as you're talking, I'm like, is passion a skill? Is this something you taught yourself, or did you come into the world like, here I am, I'm going to help people?
I didn't.
He saw what makes money and he did it.
I'm in the world, here I am. No, it's
not funny
passion
either.
is a habit. Like all emotions are. Some people get angry all the time, right? If you get angry enough, you get wired to be angry. You get angry over little shit. Some people get worried all the time. So everyone has what I call an emotional home. It's like, it may not be a place you like. It's like, I'm sure you've seen people like some parts of the country where about every 3 years, a cyclone or something comes through and destroys everything. They lose all their stuff and you feel for them, you see them crying and everything else. And you're like, oh my God. And then you rebuild. And then 3 years later, it happens again.
Cut.
And about the third time it happens, somewhere in your brain, you go, why don't you move? Right? But what happens, it's easy to see when it's someone else and it's external. But we also have an internal home. And since it's what you know, even if it's not comfortable, people tend to duplicate it. That's why some people create the same kind of relationship over and over again, right? That feeling of discomfort is what they know. So what I really try to help people do is expand their home. It's like, okay, maybe you don't need to move, but maybe we need to build another part of you, expand another set of emotions that can get you where you want to go. Maybe you need more courage.
Tony
Maybe
Robbins.
you need more faith. Maybe you need more determination. Maybe you need more passion. And any
It looks like he'd go
emotion
down quickly.
is nothing but a neurological habit. It's a big word, but it's the way you use your nervous system. So yes, I am wired for passion.
Neurological habit is a big word. Neurological? I've never heard of that before. What does it mean? Daddy Robbins, what does neurological mean? I don't know what it means.
You want to tell Tony to shove it up Tony's ass.
But it's reinforced because I get to see the impact in millions of people's lives. So I can't walk out of my house on an average day, go anywhere, and not be stopped at least a dozen times by people saying, oh my God, you changed my life. And I always say, look, I didn't change your life, you did.
That's what Rachel says. She can't go down a ski mountain without 20 people approaching her and saying, you're the reason I'm here.
But I'm glad I helped. What'd you do? And I get to hear these stories. And so it's like, how could I not, be fulfilled and be alive? I have my family, I have my businesses, but I also have this incredible feedback device. And when you are living in those types of states, you will get feedback. If you're looking for negative feedback, you'll get it no matter what. There'll be people pissed off that you're happy. But, I tend to focus on serving. And since I'm focused on the serving, that's who I care about. I care about the people that want to improve their life. I care about everybody. I provide food for people, but...
Oh my God, can we stop with the meals? I don't care. the whole thing is, if you really were a servant, I'm a servant. All I do want to do is serve people. I just want to serve people. You've made millions, multi-millions. You have 112 companies. Okay. Don't you think it's time to hang up the hat and just become a nonprofit at this point? Do this work for free 100%. Why have the conferences for 20 grand? Why do all this stuff? He would say, well, to keep you accountable. Yeah, but is that real? Like, let's actually do a real study. How many people spent $20,000 and made $20,000 back in, any amount of time that would be recognizable to attribute to his classes? I just don't foresee that being truthful. So to call yourself a servant leader, you're charging people. It's a service. You're not a servant. As you're making it seem. Start a nonprofit and do that full time and spread this message for free to everybody. Stop pulling my leg that it's not a sales funnel and that's it.
I'm looking for the environment where they can be triggered, because anyone can find their hunger. That's really what you're talking about. Passion is another word for hunger. The most successful people in the world, people ask me, what's the common trait?
They're white.
Being intelligent. I love wickedly intelligent people. I think being smart is incredibly valuable. But you and I both know tons of people as smart as can be and can't fight their way out of a paper bag in real life, right? So intelligence is not the factor. It's
She's not
hunger.
listening.
Because hunger to be more, to do more, to give more, to share more. If you have that kind of hunger, not hunger to I'm going to lose some weight to get to the party, that's not hunger. That's a goal that disappears. Hunger is something that doesn't disappear. And so, I'm going to be 63 in a couple of months. I've been doing this since I was 17. So, 46 years is more than most people have been.
Can you imagine getting life advice from a 17-year-old boy? I've lived a lot in this last 17 years. Let me tell you about a little thing called hope. Let me tell you a little thing about your mind. It's all about your mindset. I learned that at the carnival yesterday.
Alive, I've lived this path. But I've lived the path of constantly growing and getting the reinforcement of that growth in every area. Because I look at your finances, your business, your emotions, your relationships. There's, about a half dozen areas that really matter. And I've made those areas my expertise with so many. I
thought he was a janitor for the rich when he was 12.
Tools and strategies.
When he wasn't getting his Thanksgiving meal because he was too poor, he was also a janitor for Warren Buffett somehow.
Doesn't matter.
Don't question it, okay? It's real.
Because I got something I can help with. I know it, and I'm able to deliver it, make it happen. And so that becomes a virtuous cycle. You're reinforced for it. But I want you to know, any emotion, I was not a passionate, driven person. I was a little more introverted, quite frankly. But I saw the price of not stepping up. And I started to step up, and then I started to literally train myself. I used to do these incantations. I still do them before I get up on stage.
Incantations?
I would train myself for an hour. Where I would get up and I would just say, every day and every way I'm getting stronger and stronger. Every day and every way I'm getting healthier and healthier. But I would say it with authority, out loud, with intensity, ridiculously so, till I literally convinced myself this is who I am. Till I developed those habits in my nervous system. I didn't do affirmations, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. I said it, I owned it, I felt it, I experienced it. I wired myself to be this way. So
Can you imagine being married to this man? I don't know if he's divorced or not or what his deal is. I bet, I'm not surprised by any stretch of the imagination, but I could not take this for more than I'm already forcing myself to take this.
I created this Tony Robbins guy. It's always me, but I developed these pieces and tools. And so it's not effortful. It's me when I'm being passionate. It's who I am, but I'm wired for passion. I'm wired for love. I'm wired for growth. I'm wired for contribution. I'm not wired for feeling sorry for myself or being a victim or,
Except when the government's mean to me, and then I'm the greatest victim of all.
Being depressed. I was totally depressed. But, I got to that point where you start deciding whether you think you're going to stick around or not. And it woke me up. I realized when I'm depressed, I have nothing. So I used anger initially. I got pissed off to give myself energy to overcome things. Then after a while, I didn't need the anger. I just found the passion.
Yeah. God, it was so good.
Yeah. I didn't hear what you said, so I'm just gonna ask you something else unrelated because I wasn't listening.
It feels like sometimes, maybe I'm having a therapy session with you as per usual, but it feels like we're inside of a world now that's not too big a fan of passion. Like it feels like, right? Like it feels, it's sort of that, the tall poppy syndrome or the high.
Victimhood. Oh no, who's not a victim? Let me turn it into a victim story immediately. People don't like passion anymore. I just happen to be the most, you and I are the most passionate people in the world. We're the poppies. We're the tallest flowers that have ever existed. And people hate us for it. They hate us for it. And therefore I will suffer. I'm not a victim though, but I am in this one case, and it's very sad for me. And I know you can relate because, no one just loves you so much. And I just, it's just really hard to be me sometimes, but I'm going to do it because that's what I believe.
Highest nail shall be hammered down, that you show up with joy and life and like, I'm going to do this thing. And immediately it feels like,
people treat it like it's fake or it's phony or it's bullshit.
Yes.
And
it is. That's because it is. People are waking up to the reality of your grifts, you dumb. I shouldn't say dumb. They're not dumb. They're smart. They're actually geniuses. We're the dumb ones, okay, for the record. We're the dumb ones who are eating this shit up, or at least me in the past and other people. I don't know. That's all. That's all I can say. They figured out the system. It's actually the system that's fucked up. It's capitalism that rewards dummies like this. There you go.
Yeah.
But that's the season of winter, honey. In the springtime,
honey. Oh, he dropped the honey. That's the season of winter, honey.
Yeah.
But that's the season of winter, honey. In the
Thanks, honey.
springtime, everybody loves you being up and lifted. So if you're going to let the season control who you are, then you no longer have yourself anymore, right? You're just adapting to the environment. If you adapt to the environment, you're going to live like everybody else lives. So it's like, I get.
Yeah. You're going to live how everyone else lives. She's like, I said that once and they hated me for it. I actually said that.
I want to be relatable.
I said, I don't want to be relatable anymore. And they hated me for it.
Get that. I've lived long enough to see the summer times also are like that. People are like, this is bullshit, optimism. I've never been a positive thinker. I don't teach positive thinking. I teach intelligence, right? Seeing it as it is. But no.
She's responding to it. She's like sending an email. She's like, you don't. You're never positive. You actually hate everything. And you just, that's right.
Not worse than it is the secret. Most people see it worse than it is again so that they don't fail, so they don't feel like they get their hopes up and get disappointed. Well, if you don't get your hopes up, you don't change anything. That's why you got to come up with a vision. That's why you got to get the strategies. But if you're looking for affirmation from society, you're not a leader. Think about it. Most people follow the rules of society and they get the base lowest level of what society offers. What makes you a leader is you create your own culture. You create your own standards. And whether the world rewards you or not, it's like I always say to people, like, why do most people fail at the game of life? Number one, they don't know what the purpose is. I don't mean you have to have a perfect, beautiful purpose and all that. I mean, just like, what's the purpose of this game?
Make money as like guilt-free as possible. Get yourself to be so rich that you can avoid every normal human problem.
I believe it's to grow and to give and to learn and to laugh and to love and to leave a legacy, right? But whatever you think it is, if you don't know the purpose, how are you going to ever win? And then they don't know the purpose, but watch this. Here's why they fail. They have 100 million rules about how it's supposed to be played. You're supposed to do that, not do that. You're supposed to be this way and not be that way. So they're always running into some inner conflict. And then the third reason they fail, they don't know the purpose. They got lots of rules. But then on the other hand, when they do the right thing, they don't get rewarded. And when they do the wrong thing, they often get rewarded by society. So
like you guys, specifically, you're doing the wrong thing. In my opinion, you're getting rewarded by society. So just keep doing that. Who cares?
So that it brings people into a place. And then the last thing is they make everything life and death. So how do you win the game of life? You decide the purpose, not a perfect one, not something language so gorgeously. Just what's the essence of my life about? What am I here for? I think we all know you got to grow. If you don't grow, you're going to die.
Oh, who came up with that quote? Whose quote is that? It's like, who said it first? Is everything that Rachel said just Tony Robbins repeats? Or is it Tony Robbins stealing from Rachel Hollis to see if she's going to call him out on it?
You're not, and if you grow, you have something to give.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
So at a fundamental level, it's those pieces. But what else? Is it to be enjoyment? Is it to spread love? What is it for you? And then, okay, I'm gonna have a lot less rules. I mean, you got 4 children, you can relate to this. I saw a CNN piece years ago and I never forgot it. It was a story about them making a commercial for Double Mint gum where they used to use twins all the time, you know, twice the flavor, twice this.
Yeah.
And they did one with...
I know gum. I've heard of gum, yeah. I don't chew it though because it's bad for me because my boyfriend told me that gum is dangerous. She literally said that, by the way.
With families that had quintuplets, 5 children born at the same time. And I think it was 5 families with 5 quintuplets. And when they're filming this behind the scenes, it was total just chaos. All these kids going everywhere. And there's this one man I'll never forget. He looked like he was, you know, in his early 60s. His face was he was sweaty, he was all broken down.
I have no idea where this story is going. You couldn't pay me to tell you what the fuck's going on.
I interviewed him and said, what's it like to, you know, have 5 kids? And what's the most important thing you've learned? And he said, I've learned that you can't have too many rules. Because with 5 kids, you have too many rules. Someone's always breaking them. You're always reacting. And he goes, it's like, you probably think I'm older looking than I am. He goes, I'm 30.
So structure your life so intensely that you have to give yourself incantations every day and you have to show up for your life and you have to work out and you have to keep yourself healthy and you have to not let negative thoughts in, but also don't have any rules. Okay.
38 years old. I couldn't believe he was 38 years old, right? I was like, he goes, so I finally learned. It took me a long time, but I've learned. Can't have too many rules. Well, that's true in life. The minimum rules to win the game that are good for you and other people, not just good for you. And then you got to reward yourself. If I do what's right and society doesn't reward me, I reward myself. If I do something wrong and society rewards me, I punish myself, not heavily, just enough to not go there again. And then I take myself lightly. You know, there's an old phrase that says, why do angels fly? Because they take themselves lightly. It's not all life and freaking death. And when you do that, life is...
It is when you're rich. Yeah, that is how life is. Yeah, I can just lose a couple mil this year. I can gain a couple mil. Who cares? Easy for you to say, buddy.
a different game.
Man, I want to be really conscious of your time because we're at about an hour and I don't know how long you're allowed to go today.
I got about 10 more minutes.
Okay.
He just said he has no rules in life. I don't know how long you're allowed to talk for. According to him, he can talk to infinity, and I'm sure he could.
About 10 more if I do my next one, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something that you said earlier about disappointment and how disappointment is, I forget the exact quote that you used, but like
key to success, it either drives you or
so like
destroys you.
unpack how is disappointment, which every single person listening to this has experienced.
She's so bad at listening to quotes, remembering quotes. She can't hear one for 5 seconds ago and repeat it even. Yet she'll slap her name on it and claim that she's like, all sage and wise.
How is that something that is for us?
Well,
not
because,
to us.
Well, first of all, you can't avoid it because you have certain expectations no matter what you do, right? So it's going to be there. The question is, what are you going to do with it when it happens? If you let it destroy you, which is what some people do, they lose their compelling future. They give up on what they're doing. They say, well, this means I'm not doing the right thing, as opposed to this challenge, this disappointment is a speed bump on the way to success. It's jolted me, but I'm still on my course. There'll be other jolts along the way, and I'm going to use this to drive me. I'm going to take this disappointment and just double down. And so that's an emotional habit. It's a decision. It's like every day we're making decisions.
What?
If you say, why is your life the way it is? Whatever you're proud in your life, your children, your life, your business, whatever you're really most proud of.
My boyfriend.
Came from decisions you made years ago and maybe some ongoing decisions you're doing that make it continue to be better, right? And if you look at any of your life you're unhappy with, it's because decisions you made probably years ago. I mean, most of us can think of a decision that maybe 5 or 10 years ago you made or more, that if you made a different decision, your life would be completely different. Go to a different school, different career, marry a different person. I mean, completely different life. Better or worse, I can't tell you. You know that more than I do, but it'll be different. So you got to realize that decision is the ultimate power. It's like, what has our God given us? It's choice. Right? That's clear. You can choose to believe whatever you want. You can choose to live however you want or not live however you want. And we all have that choice, at least if you live in a free society. So the decisions we make, there's 3 decisions we make every moment.
It's no longer free.
If you make these decisions differently, your life's different. The first one is, what are you going to focus on? Because I tell people, you're not experiencing your life
Hollis
right now.
snark.
You're experiencing the life you're focusing on. See, if you focus on some aspects of your life, you're going to be pissed off or worried. But to be pissed off and worried, you have to delete all the things you could be grateful for. If you're really having a great life right now, you're deleting all the things you're going to be pissed off about. So it's whatever you focus on, that determines the control of your life. And there are habits of focus. Some people focus constantly on what's missing. I know some of the most successful people in the world that are successful externally, but not happy internally, because if you're constantly focused on what's missing, that's good to do in your business once a week, once a month. But when you do it every day with your whole life, when you're constantly focused on missing, you're going to feel empty. You're going to feel not enough. And some people have the habit of constantly questioning, right? So focusing on what's missing might help you start to find answers. But if you do it all the time, it feels...
I ask after 56 minutes of screaming.
Overwhelming. And during COVID especially, people tend to focus on what was missing. And so they got more depressed. The second decision habit would be around the, focus is going to be, do you focus on what you can control or not control? And, you think about it, so many people, especially after COVID, so many things were outside your control. It was natural to focus on that. Well, that feels depressing. When people feel happy, it's because they feel they control most of the events in their life, not events control them. In order to do that, you have to develop muscle, emotion, and you have to develop the habit of focusing on what you can control, because there's tons we can't control. You can't even control your body if you go to Mexico and eat the wrong thing. Come on, you can't control your own colon, right? You can talk about it all you want with your mind, but it's going to take over.
I thought you said every physical ailment is your own fault and, just caused by your own beliefs last time you talked to Rachel. Now that's not true. If you go to Mexico, throw that out the window. Okay. And that's also like, roll my eyes, boomer humor.
So there are things that we influence but can't control. We got to focus on what we can control. And then some people focus more on the past, some the present, some the future. We all do all three. But the habit of so many people is focus on the past. So if you're constantly focused on what's missing and what you can't control and how the past is better than now, you're going to be depressed no matter how many Prozac drugs we give you. But if you focus on what you can control and what you do have in your life and you build on success, and you focus on the present, what's beautiful, and or the future you're creating, that combination creates a different life. So a different focus alone changes your life. Then when we focus on something, the second decision is, what does it mean? Is this the end or the beginning? Is this person disrespecting me?
Please.
Are they challenging me? Are they coaching me? Or are they actually loving on me? Whichever one you pick, whatever
Don't
meaning
love
you
on
pick,
me, please.
will create a biochemical change in you instantly called emotion. And so if you think you're being disrespected, you're going to respond differently than if you're being loved. And then out of that state, you make the third decision about what to do. Well, in an angry state, you're going to respond very differently than in an appreciative state. Is God punishing me? Is that why I have this problem? Is God challenging me? Is God giving me this gift of a problem? Is it a gift? Or is it not God at all? I've been a lazy bastard, and so I haven't done my part, and I'm blaming God, right? Whichever meaning you come up with is going to be the way you live. Is this the end of my relationship or the beginning? If it's the beginning, you're going to be completely different than if you think it's the end. So our decisions about what to focus on, what things mean, and what to do, that pattern controls our whole life. You change those three patterns, you change everything.
Yeah. Well, and when it
Yeah. Okay. Rachel, wrap this the fuck up, please.
comes to disappointment, the idea that you can experience the disappointment, be frustrated by it, be sad, like give yourself that moment to feel those things,
That's
and
right.
then go back to the three pieces of advice you just gave. What are you focusing on? What does it mean? And what are you going to do now? And
That's
I
right.
think going into this new year, for a lot of people, it was like, okay, just get through 2020 and then it'll be, then we'll be okay. We'll have answers. We'll have, a solution. Then
10
we're
days
in
to stop the spread.
Right. And then
Flatten the curve.
21 and then 22. And okay,
As he
now
coughs.
we're moving past this thing and now we're dealing with the fallout from what the decisions that we made in government during that time period, right? So it's
A little smirky there. The decisions we made in government. I'm the biggest liberal of all time. Just remember that Rachel interviewed Joe Biden at some point, and that was her path forward. She's acting like, oh, I'm a Trumper, and wink, wink. Yeah, maybe she is now. I don't know, but it's like she's just playing to her audience. Like, I don't think she actually has these beliefs necessarily, but she wants him to like her, so she'll just like, the government did it, like you said.
the hits are going to keep on coming. Like there's always going to be something. And even if we're not talking about a global pandemic, there's always going to be something in our lives like really justifiable excuses, like not like fake ones, like legit reasons why we shouldn't have that shouldn't be our life. We shouldn't keep pushing. We shouldn't stand up and go again. But I love the simplicity of like, what are you looking at? What does this mean? And what are you going to do next? So,
and those decisions are being made unconsciously right now for everyone listening. Every moment you're making those decisions, but if they're unconscious, then they're the same every time. And so your life doesn't change. When you awaken to what you're doing in that area, that's when your life really begins to shift. And that's really why you got to immerse yourself in a different environment, because the world is not going to reinforce these habits. You know, if you want to be average, the average person is not fit. They are not healthy. They do not have a great relationship. They're not doing well financially. I'm no idiot, but that doesn't mean that's how your life has to be. But see, it's like studying people that are ill to try and get healthy. No, I study people that are successful to figure out what do they do different. And that's what I've done through my
Didn't you study your depression cases in your audience?
life. And that's also how you compress decades into days. How do you get results faster? You learn from other people's experience who spent decades doing it. So you don't have to go through the trial and error of figuring it out. They've done 20 years of that. They know the answer. Now you can do something in a week or a month or a year.
Is that what you offer?
Might have taken them 5 or 10. It's like, we want our kids to stand on our shoulders. We want them to do better than we're doing, right? But we have to first take control of our own life to do that. And it's really not that hard, because what you said is true. There's always something that legitimately could stop you. So your question is, am I going to pray it's easier, or am I going to get better? And listen,
get worse.
Pray to get better and then do something to get better would be the right combination. I believe prayer is very valuable, but faith without works is dead, right? You have to do your part. And I think all of us have that opportunity. And that's what I'm just trying to do, is give people triggers and tools and new environments so they can make new decisions and have the quality of life that they deserve regardless of the season.
Yeah. Well, I'll say it again for listeners. I feel like there's literally nothing to lose in this challenge that you guys are doing.
Except more of your time that we just wasted. Your sanity and you being manipulated for 5 days straight.
I know you're going to serve so well. I know there's a load of information. And I just want to say this too, like,
sorry.
You don't, speak in sort of nebulous, general, what you're like, do these 4 things.
He
like,
speaks
it's
very nebulously.
very tactical. So I want to
And also, I want you to know, I'm also bringing to this some of my friends. Jamie Kern-Lima, I think from It Cosmetics. Yeah. She was, listening to my stuff, working as a waitress in Denny's, and now she's worth $1 billion selling her cosmetics. And they already told her she couldn't do this. You're not pretty enough. You're not thin enough. All this bullshit that people told. But she connected with women a different way. Or,
we need to talk about her at some point. I don't know if she's scammy or not. I mean, she's definitely in the scammy circles. The Jamie Lee, whatever. She was on infomercials with the It Cosmetics for years. And she was on Jay Shetty's stuff, involved with him. So we need to look into her more.
Sarah Blakely, who's the first, youngest female billionaire with Spanx.
Who?
And how she did that. And I've got Matthew McConaughey joining me. He's a friend because he's an actor. What's the point? Well, to become one of the greatest actors of his generation, the amount of rejection, the amount of fail, the amount of disappointment, and how he dealt with that, like what he did.
They're cutting him
to
off.
Get where he is. So you'll be joining me with some of my friends for these experiences.
Matthew
and I know you'll find it really profound.
Awesome. Well, we'll put the link to sign up in the show notes. And as always, thank you so much for serving and sharing wisdom and hanging out. I really appreciate the time.
I always enjoy our time together, Rachel. BecomeUnshakableGirl.com. That's where they're going. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. I know you're in the midst of a crazy day, so wishing you luck with the rest of your press for this.
Well, and I'm glad you finally get to be off now with your family. Go play with those 4
kids. Yeah, I'm going
to
the beach. Tell your girls I say hi. Give my love to Mary.
I will. Take good care, honey.
Okay, bye-bye.
Honey, bye, honey. Bye, honey. Oh my God, we just barely made it out of that foxhole. We barely survived that one, everybody. Ooh, that was tough. That was tough to swallow. It was almost as tough to swallow as Tony Robbins' COVID that he probably has. Get that checked, buddy. Get that cough checked out. That ain't good. That ain't good for the career.